Good morning, students. I hope you all are keeping safe during this lockdown. So during this lockdown, I have thought to give you a lesson, the last lesson of poet Alfonso Daudet. It's a Flamingo book's first chapter. Let me just read out the paragraph wise and then explain. Because many of you all do not have the books at hand. So it will be easy for you to understand the lesson. The last lesson by Alfonso Daudet. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because Mr. M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. It was all much tempting than the rule of participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. So here I find the narrator, he is hurrying to the school. He is already late and he is hurrying to his school. This story is set in France when Prussian soldiers have attacked France, and there was a war between France and Prussia. It was that the Prussian soldiers have overtaken the most part of the France, and then now they are coming to their place. So this is the last lesson which his teacher is going to deliver him in the school. But the student, the narrator, he does not know about this. He just knows that he's already late for his school and he's hurrying. And he was assigned a homework on participles which he hasn't done. On his way to school, he's keeping in his mind that he was supposed to learn the participles which he hasn't done. On the way, he's getting tempted to many other things like the chirping of the birds, and far away he can hear the Prussian soldiers drilling, marching, and he can feel the sunlight. So there are many things which are tempting him. He wants to enjoy them, but he's on his way to school and he's hurrying to his school. The next paragraph. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all the bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could, the blacksmith washer who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin called after me, "Don't go so fast, bub. You will get to your school in plenty of time." So, in the city hall, town hall, there is a bulletin board where all the news, like in our days we have newspapers and TVs and all. But in those days, there was a bulletin board where all the news was displayed for the public. So while he was passing that way, he could see near the bulletin board a crowd was gathering. He was wondering what is the news for today. All the bad news as since the war was going on. Throughout the time, good and bad news comes to the bulletin board. But as since war was going on, generally most of the bad news were coming from the bulletin board. For the past 2 years, they could hear the Prussian soldiers attacking, they are losing, French are losing in the war, and even they can see all the orders of the commanding Prussian officers and their municipal officers. So you can get there. It is received from the bulletin board. So as he was passing through the bulletin board, he could see a crowd over there. So he was wondering, what is the news today? Still he was hurrying to his school. The blacksmith, he was there with his apprentice, with his co-worker. He just told him, interrupted the narrator and told him that don't go so fast to the school. You will have plenty of time for your school. The narrator did not understand what was his gestures. What bad news was there in the bulletin board? He did not understand, he did not ask. Rather, in the next stanza it says, I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden out of breath. So he rather thought that the blacksmith is making fun of him because he is hurrying to the school. Actually, he is often late to the school. So he thought maybe the blacksmith is making fun of him. Rather, he hurried to his school. He hurried to M. Hamel's, his teacher, his English teacher M. Hamel's garden, and he reached the school. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle, which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be quiet, as Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamill walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So he was already late for his school, and when he enters, usually what happens, you also do that. So what the narrator did when he was entering the school, he tries to make from the commotion, noise is coming from the school, the beating of desks, the pulling of desks, and arranging the desk, the students, the other class students speaking in unison, all together, speaking, they're reciting their lessons, their poems. But now he was trying to make out from the voices of the school. He could hear nothing. There was pin drop silence like a Sunday morning. But like the Sunday morning when the school is silent, he could hear nothing. He was astonished. What is the matter? Everything is in silent. And just imagine he will have to go to his class when he is already late. The teacher, he peeped through the window. Students, his friends were there in the desk. His teacher, Miss M. Hamill, was walking up and down with the iron rod. Usually he has that iron rod. He was walking with usual iron rod, and he has to get into the class. So it was a frightening thing for him, and a very funny also, because the latecomers, he will come late and he will enter the bench. The next stanza we find, but nothing happened. M. Hammer saw me and said very kindly, go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that was surprised me the most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others beside. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, thumbed at its edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. So, when he entered the class, he noticed his teacher, Mr. M. Hamill, said nothing. He just asked him to go and sit in his bench. Rather, unlike other days, he did not scold him. Franz went, the narrator is Franz, he went and sat on his desk. And then, after sitting, he noticed that there's something unique in that. What are the unique things? He notices that his teacher, Mr. Hamill, is wearing his green coat, his Sunday coat. He usually used to wear that on prize days or on special occasions. Today he was wearing that green coat. The class was silent. And the back benches, which are usually normally empty, the back benches, they were people, village people, the postmaster, the former mayor, and the other professional people of the village. They were there. And the class was silent. The students were seated, the back benches, the villagers were seated, and the class was silent. So Franz couldn't make out what is the matter today. It is the France-Prussian war's time, and Prussia has defeated France, and from now onwards, German will be taught in their school. So this is the last lesson of French class. Mr. Hammer used to teach them English and French. So this is their last class of French, and hereafter German will be taught in that school. So the title of the lesson justifies the last lesson. And Mr. Hamill, as he knows this is his last lesson, he's very embodied, and he's wearing his special dress, and then all the villagers have also come to pay homage to him. So while I was wondering about it, M. Hamill mounted his chair, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive. So Mr. Hamel sits on his chairs and announces that from Berlin the order has come in the bulletin board that from now onwards German will be taught in your schools, and this is going to be the last French lessons. How it is astonishing, just imagine how it is astonishing for the French people that they will come to know that this is the last lesson. From next onwards only German will be taught in their school. Suppose if you are reading English and Hindi and Odia in your schools or any other subjects, and all of a sudden you come to know that French will be taught to you or Spanish will be taught to you. Think of that position, that you will forget about your native language, you will forget about your mother tongue language, or you will forget about your core language of your country, and some other countries language will be taught to you. So it is very difficult situation. Same the village was facing. This is Alsace and Lorraine are two places of France which are occupied by Germany. What a thunderclap these words were to me. These words of Mr. Hamel were like a thunderclap to him. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put up at the town hall. My last French lesson? Why? I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there. Then, oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs, or going sliding on the Saar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. This was an astonishing news for France. This was going to be his last French lessons. He was shocked that all of a sudden a new language is going to be taught in their school, same people, same place. But since France has been defeated by Germans, now has been defeated by Prussians, now Germany will be taught in their school. It was very astonishing for them. So all of a sudden France is unable to grasp this. He realizes that books which were so heavy to him, the grammar book, the history book, which he did not like at all a while ago, now it seems to be his old friends. He was just now pondering why had he wasted his time to play in his playtime, and why had he wasted his time to go to the nest and catch a bird's egg? Why hadn't he utilized his time to learn French? And he's a young boy, hardly he has learned or to read and write France, that a new language is going to come. It was very astonishing for him, because his mother tongue, his own country's language, is going to be snatched away from him. Similar situation we had when India was colonized under Britishers. India was a prosperous country, but when the Britishers colonized, they changed everything. This similar feeling Indians had already faced for the 200 years under British colonial rule. We faced that. Britishers brought new languages, new customs, new dress codes, new rules and regulations. India had faced many problems, isn't it? The same feeling France is also getting. This is the dismal condition they are in. Then he wonders, poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understand why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. And the most important thing was, he was feeling sorry for his teacher, Mr. Hamel. A while ago, he did not like his teacher because he was a very strict teacher. He used to give him a lot of homeworks. But now at the thought that this is going to be his last teacher, giving his last lesson on French, and a new teacher will come tomorrow to teach Germans, he was horrified. A while ago, the teacher whom he did not like, now he was missing him terribly. And Now you can understand the village people had come and seated in the back bench to pay homage to the last teacher, pay homage to their teacher, Mr. Hamill. Mr. Hamill had been teaching at that school for 40 long years. The mayor, the postmaster, all have studied under the teacher, Mr. Hamill. So they had come here to say sorry. Why hadn't they paid much attention to their classes before? Or why hadn't they had utilized their time before? So they had come to pay homage to their teacher, Mr. Hamill. And just think of the thought Mr. Hamill might be having. For 40 long years he had been teaching French at that school. And because of the war, just because of the war, Prussian soldiers occupied France, Lorraine and Alsace, and that they will have to teach Germans over there. Think of that plight which they are facing. The teacher, the residents of the village, and this boy, now Franz, he got to realize this was a dismal condition there. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful word of the participle all through, very loud and clear, and without one mistake. But I got mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk and my heart beating and not daring to look up. I heard M. Hamill say to me, I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, bah, we have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Ah, that's a great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it you pretend to be Frenchmen and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. So, Mr. Hamill asked the students one by one to recite their participles. And when it was Franz's time, teacher called to him. He was trying with all his efforts, with all his wisdom, knowledge, to recite the participles, whatever he had learnt. But still, though he had not prepared well, he mixed up the few words and he couldn't recite it properly. His teacher said, no problem, Franz, I'm not going to scold you. But it is you yourself you realize that you have not prepared your lessons well. Earlier we used to say, no, we have plenty of time, we'll do it tomorrow, then see, all of a sudden what happened, the tomorrow is not going to come. What will Alsace think? That you have not even learned. From tomorrow onwards you will learn Germany. So what will Alsace place will think about you? She will think that you're not even to say French properly. You're not even to read and write French, although you are a Frenchman. So just realize on yourself. As we have not paid attention, not only you, most of the people have not paid attention in the school days. This is what they are suffering. See, the other people of the village, they are also have also come just to pay homage to the teacher, and also a thought that they had not given their full attention. So this is the first part of the lesson. The second part of the lesson I'll give you in the video 2. Okay? Banda karo?